Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Todd Talk. Because when Todd talks, people listen. Hopefully. And as this is the first Todd Talk of the new year, I do hope you will listen and listen throughout the year. Because I hope to continue doing this because I love to talk a lot. So, small bit of news first off. Death Battle. If you didn't listen to the recent Death Battle cast, they revealed that the show will be returning on February 1st, which is not that far away. So they haven't revealed anything yet, but we might be getting a reveal video soon about who at least is fighting, kind of like what they did with Dante Bayonetta. Also, I'm not sure if this is going to be the battle is on the first or the preview video start the first. I feel like it's gonna be the previews because that's what they did last year with Dante Bayonetta. So just stay tuned for that. The rumors are it's gonna be Galactus Unicron, which is kind of how I was hoping they'd end last season, but whatever. So, oh yeah, and Happy New Year. Can you believe it's already a week into the new year? Neither can I. Actually, it's now we're on week 2, actually, so how about that? So I'm not going to talk about Death Battle today outside of that news. What do you mean we're not talking more about Death Battle? I've done that, okay? I've done all the previews, I've done the reaction videos, and I even had a Season 3 in review, so please go watch that. It's the last video I did. Today we're talking about something a little bit more personal to me, I suppose. Over the last few weeks, basically like right before Christmas and only ending a few days ago at the time of recording, Science Channel had a mega Mythbusters Marathon where they played all 259. Why couldn't they just give them 260 episodes of the classic uh, science series? And I got to record all of them. I did have to delete a few because of my DVR limitations, but I got a good majority. And honestly, the ones I deleted were the ones I didn't really care about. But um, it was just really fun recording it, and it all led up to last night at the time of this recording, the premiere of Mythbusters Search, which is a show where these new builders, designers, creators are vying for the honor of being the new Mythbuster team for what I believe they're going to call Mythbusters: The Next Generation. And it was actually really cool seeing that. There are some favorites I already have. There's this one guy I desperately want off because I think he'd scare the children, and I just think he's not that good. But just experiencing this marathon and then just watching the show of the search, my TV's that way for the record. Um, this made me reflect on MythBusters and why I love this series. I got into it a very weird way. My small group leader at my church was the one who recommended it. He was just talking about it one day, and they talked about how they blew up the cement truck, which is obviously one of the most famous moments of the MythBusters show. And this was 2004 or something like that, and I was just like, why would they do that? And they go, oh, well, there was an explanation. They were trying to test out getting hardened cement out of a truck, and then they just blew up the truck because they didn't need it anymore. And I'm like, that kind of sounds cool. So I started watching it, and I really liked it. And then I started going back and watching all the old episodes. I would love it when a day consisted nothing but a MythBusters marathon. There was always this joke of like, what's your perfect day? And I always swear, like the cliche is, the sun is shining, the birds are singing out outside, join the world. And mine is, the sun is shining, the birds are singing, I'm locked inside watching a Mythbusters marathon. Because that was a perfect day to me. It didn't matter how many times we'd seen these episodes, they were awesome. And, Jamie and Adam and Carrie and Grant and Tori and Scotty and Jessica and Christine, they were just really fun. And they made science fun, which is why it lasted for 14 years and now is continuing with the search in the next generation. And, Mythbusters honestly did get me through some tough times. I mean, I can't say I'm one of those people who they actually helped through school, sadly enough, but I can say I know more about science because of Mythbusters rather than the science classes I actually took. And it just had a lot to do with their approach. I mean, they actually had Adam Savage, one of the hosts, beyond the mega marathon during like commercial segments, and he gave like little tidbits and insights into the show. One of them was that he didn't want to do just a standard science show where the guy would be there, do the science really quick, and then explain he had just did. That doesn't do anything. He would show like he would do the experiment and then explain what happened, then move on. They didn't want to do. They just wanted to show the build up. They want to show you step by step what is happening leading up to the final thing. And that was just so huge because it helped explain everything. Like they could have just, thrown a person out of a plane, but no, they wanted to start small scale. They wanted to see what it took to get to terminal velocity, or they want to see in small scale what could happen to a car if it crashed into another car at 50 miles per hour just by using clay. And it was just these little things that really made it much more than just a science show. It was a show that could get everyone more knowledgeable what was going on in the world around it, gravity, physics. I'm pretty sure I know all of Newton's laws now because of Mythbusters, even the one that they technically broke. Blow your own sail. Anyone? No? Okay. Uh, they made it special, and it was special to me for those. I guess I got in like a couple of years late, but like the 11 years that I watched it, it was great. And I was very sad last year, kind of sad I can say that now. But when it ended, grand finale, the reunion special, it made me cry, and I was just like, because this had been my life for over a decade, and I'm glad that the legacy is living on through these new contestants, and I do hope the ones that I can tell just have this passion and fervor, to want to continue their legacy, get to be on the show, because I think that's the best you can ask for is the ones who embody what it is to be a true Mythbuster. And for me personally, it's just they made it cool to learn. And I've always had problems learning when it's not stuff I just can get instantly. Like I can read like no one's business. I can memorize books and scripts and TV shows and everything. And I can recite it, and songs. I can memorize a whole CD and be in perfect pitch and beat when I sing it. But when it came to math and science, it was very, very hard. I mean, my teacher wants to find me as a ball, and a ball is supposed to drop from the ceiling to the floor like this, whereas I would bounce off every single wall possible and eventually land, and he would use that to define how I would get a math problem solved. So instead of using the path that he defined or explained to me, I would bounce around but eventually get to the same answer. And science was much better. But with Mythbusters, I can actually talk about stuff like terminal velocity. I know that force is equal to mass times acceleration and various other things, and know what I'm talking about. But not because I learned it in school, but because I learned it off a Mythbusters episode. Another thing was a failure is not an option. Or sorry, failure is always an option. And that's how it works in Mythbusters, because to them, in any experiment, something can fail, something can go horribly wrong, and they have to be ready for that. And that was very inspirational to me because, especially in my life where I have failed, and I have failed so hard at times, I could have easily just, lie down and stop. But Mythbusters showed just because you had a failure or just because you failed doesn't mean you can't keep going. Doesn't mean you can't do another experiment, do it another way, find out another way to get it done. And I have, and I think I've grown because of that. And so I'll always be indebted to them. I mean, heck, the Mythbusters did things that failed spectacularly. The second JATO rocket car, the first myth they ever did was JATO rocket car. Strap rockets on a car, see if they could fly up and hit a mountain. It didn't work. Then sometime later, during what they called the supersize special, they did it again, put more thought into it, put more care into it, planned it out to the letter. And then a foot away from the ramp that was about to launch, it blew up. Can't reset that. What could they do? They accepted what happened, they moved on, and then a few years later, they got to finally test definitively what happened, and it was indeed JATO rocket car mission accomplished. Just because they didn't give up, and they made sure that everything was right, and they planned for absolutely everything. And and even like the Myths Revisited episodes, Mythbusters is the only show I know where they go back and retest things that they were told they got wrong by us, the fans. They listened to us. They were happy to, okay, not happy, but they were thrilled at times when they got these emails, and then when they were proven wrong, which happened quite a lot. If you go back and rewatch those Myths Revisited episodes, they were surprised that the fans had caught on. I mean, what does it say about us, the fans, that we're willing to say, hey, you got this wrong? And, the Mythbusters retested, and then we were proven right. We, the fans. That was so cool. And then, even more than that, they listened to us for extensions of the myths, like myths, like the myth evolution episode, the myth revolution episode. And they, the fact that they listened to us, they acknowledged us, was just the coolest thing in the world. And that's just something that they can't be taken away. And I'm glad. Now, what are some of my favorite myths? Oh gosh, bullets fired underwater. I've always loved that. This classic movie staple of bullets, shooting through the water being just as deadly isn't exactly accurate. If it's shot straight down, then yeah, it can be. But if it's fired at an angle, it breaks up within a few feet. A few feet! Who would have called that? Or how about phone book friction? Are you kidding me? Where you can interlace a phone book and it takes two freaking tanks to pull them apart? What? I kid you not. I kid you not. My minister at my church did that experiment on stage right in front of me. He pulled like pulled four guys from the audience and had them yank two on each side on the phone book. And he got the science wrong. He said that there was enough static electricity to keep the thing, and I had to hold myself back from shouting, "It's not the static electricity, it's the friction, JP." And after that I found him after that sermon, and I said, "JP, you got the science wrong. It's not the static electricity, it's the friction." And he goes, "Yeah, you're the second person to tell me that. I feel so ashamed." I'm like, "You should be ashamed, JP." So, that happened. And it was just like, my minister was inspired by Mythbusters. Are you kidding me? And he preached about an experiment. I mean, are you kidding me? So awesome. But my all-time favorite is easily the NASA moon landing. Because it's so weird that people think that we didn't go to the moon. There's like 20% of the world apparently doesn't think we went to the moon. It was 20% of America or something like that. And you hear all these conspiracy theorists, a guy like assaulting Buzz Aldrin, saying like, what does it feel like to be the guy who helped orchestrate one of the big conspiracies? Buzz Aldrin knocked him out just like he should. But, how do you test that? How do you test, short of just going to the moon? Well, they took the conspiracy theories, they broke them down into what they were actually saying, and they took the ones that actually had scientific credibility and tested them. And it was surprising how many they actually had. Like testing things in the vacuum, about what you can and can't do in a vacuum, about reflectivity and how the sun projects light and how the contour of the moon can actually affect the shadows that you see. It was all very fascinating. And or even just like how a zero gravity works, how you move in zero gravity. It was just so fascinating. And it once I finally got, there was a delay actually because it was supposed to air right before the 2008 Beijing Olympics. And then they delayed it because of the Olympics because they didn't want any conflict to hurt their viewing. And I'm glad, kind of, because it was a great episode. But I had to wait all that time just to get to watch it. And then, boom, it was there. And it was awesome. And it's easily like my all-time favorite myths. And that's obviously not in counting, like, gosh, like Paper Crossbow or the video game special or even like one of their later episodes where they lifted a car with nothing but a vacuum cleaner and some boxes. A vacuum cleaner, a standard vacuum cleaner, not even a souped up one. They lifted a car. Or how about the duct tape specials? I mean, these guys did so much, and I am forever grateful to them. And if this next generation does half as much or a third as much as Adam, Jamie, Cary Grant, Tori, Skype, Christine, Jessica, I'll be happy for them. And I can tell that some of them want to be like that. Some want to push it, and because there's always going to be more myths to test. I actually applied for a Mythbusters to search because they meant that much to me. I wanted to at least try. I wanted to at least say I got my application in, and I did, and I was accepted, and I actually got the email that rejected me, sadly. But seeing some of the people who got accepted, I'm okay with that because I probably would have only been the design guy, make the plans, help out where I can because I can't weld, I can't work tools, I can barely drive. So, yeah. But I still am happy knowing that, people with as much passion as I have for Mythbusters applied for that show and clearly got on the show. There are like 3 or 4 guys who I can really see being this, and a couple of great gals too. There's some very talented women on that show, so definitely check out Mythbusters to search on a Science Channel every Saturday. So with that, I will end this 36th episode of Todd Talk. Do you like Mythbusters? Let me know. Let me know what you've thought of the series, and if you've seen the first episode of The Search, let me know what you think of that too. Let's talk about what are your favorite myths? What are your favorite experiments? What did Mythbusters mean to you? Let me know. So, I thank you for watching. If you made it this far, I know you're listening, and if you think you weren't, that myth is busted, and I will see you around.